The bus driver's voice booms across the crowded morning commute. "We don't give military discounts to fake soldiers." Old man. 62-year-old Frank Morrison grips his worn duffel bag tighter as passengers turn to stare, unaware that the quiet grandfather standing before them once led the most classified rescue mission in Afghanistan. His call sign Phantom still whispered in Pentagon briefing rooms. What happens next will restore your faith in humanity. If you believe our veterans deserve respect, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments about a veteran who changed your life. This story will give you chills. Frank Morrison had been riding the same Route 47 bus for 3 years. Every Tuesday morning at 7:15 a.m., he would climb aboard with his faded military ID card ready, asking politely for the veteran discount. Most drivers nodded and waved him through. Not today. The bus driver, a heavy-set man with a permanent scowl, held up his hand like a stop sign. The morning crowd behind Frank shifted restlessly, coffee cups steaming, phones buzzing with morning messages. "You think that old card tricks anyone?" the driver sneered. "Half the guys in this city claim they served. Show me real proof or pay full." "Fair." Frank's weathered hands fumbled for his wallet. His arthritis made simple tasks difficult some mornings. Behind him, a businessman in expensive suit tapped his foot loudly. A woman with designer handbag rolled her eyes at her friend. "Look at him digging around," she whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Probably bought that fake ID online." The bus filled with uncomfortable murmurs. Frank felt heat creep up his neck. He pulled out a $20 bill, twice what the fare cost, but his hands shook as he tried to feed it into the machine. The bill crumpled. "The machine rejected it. Great. Now he's holding up the whole bus," the businessman muttered. "Some of us have real jobs to get to." Frank tried smoothing the bill against his leg. The machine rejected it again. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cool morning air. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step off," the driver announced loudly. "You're causing a disruption." "But I have the money," Frank said quietly. "Just give me a moment." The driver stood up, his bulk filling the narrow aisle. "Either you pay correctly right now, or you get off my bus." "I don't have time for this nonsense." A teenager near the back started recording with his phone. Others began pulling out their devices too. Frank noticed the cameras pointing at him and his stomach dropped. "Please," he whispered. "I just need to get to the VA hospital for my appointment." Should have thought about that before trying to scam the system, the driver shot back. "Off the bus." Now. The businessman pushed forward. "Move it along, old-timer. Some of us contribute to society." Frank's chest tightened. The familiar weight of panic pressed against his ribs, the same feeling he used to get before dangerous missions. But this was different. This was shame. "I served my country for 26 years, Frank said, his voice barely audible. "Sure you did." The woman with the handbag laughed. "And I'm the Queen of England." The recording teenager moved closer, phone camera inches from Frank's face. "This is going straight to TikTok," he announced. Fake veteran gets owned on public transport. Frank's vision blurred. The faces around him twisted into expressions of disgust and entertainment. Some passengers looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Others seemed to enjoy the show. The driver grabbed Frank's shoulder, not gently. "Time to go, Pops." That's when Frank noticed him. In the third row, sitting perfectly still, was a man about 40 years old. Buzz cut, straight posture, eyes that had seen things. The man was staring at Frank with an expression Frank recognized immediately. The stranger stood up. Slowly. His movement was controlled, deliberate. "Military bearing. Driver," the man said in a calm, clear voice. "Sir, I need you to step back from him." "Oh great," the driver groaned. "Another one." "Let me guess, you served too?" The stranger ignored the sarcasm. He walked down the aisle toward Frank, his eyes never leaving the older man's face. When he got close enough, He whispered something that made Frank's knees nearly buckle. Phantom? Frank's world stopped spinning. That call sign. Nobody had used it in 15 years. Nobody should even know it. The stranger's voice dropped to a whisper only Frank could hear. Staff Sergeant Mike Chun, 3rd Battalion Rangers. I know who you are, Sir. Frank searched the younger man's face. Chun. The name triggered a flood of memories. The compound outside Kandahar, the impossible rescue. The kid who wouldn't leave a man behind, Mikey? Frank breathed. Little Mikey Chun? The bus had gone quiet. Even the teenager stopped recording, sensing something important was happening. Chun turned to address the entire bus, his voice carrying the authority of command. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand something. This man is Colonel Frank Morrison, United States Army Rangers, retired. The businessman's arrogant expression faltered. The woman with the handbag lowered her phone, but Chen wasn't finished. In 2009, Colonel Morrison led a mission to extract 12 captured soldiers from a Taliban stronghold. The mission was considered impossible. Every military advisor said it was suicide. Frank tried to motion for Chun to stop, but the younger man continued. Phantom didn't care about impossible. He took a team of 8 Rangers behind enemy lines. For 36 hours, they fought through mountain terrain in complete darkness. When they reached the compound, they found the prisoners being tortured. The bus was dead silent now. Even the driver had stopped moving. The Taliban had 40 fighters. We had 8. Phantom coordinated an assault that military schools now study as a masterpiece of small unit tactics. He personally carried 2 wounded prisoners to safety while under heavy fire. Chun's voice grew thick with emotion. All 12 prisoners came home alive. Every single ranger on that mission survived. Because of him. The businessman stared at his shoes. The woman with the handbag looked like she wanted to disappear into her seat. Frank's eyes filled with tears he had been holding back for years. Mikey, you don't have to do this. Yes, sir, I do. Chun turned back to the crowd. This man saved my life. He saved all our lives. And you just treated him like garbage because he's old, and his hands shake a little. The driver's face had gone pale. Sir, I didn't know. You didn't want to know, Chun replied firmly. You saw an old man, decided. He was lying. You never even looked at his ID properly. Frank pulled out his military identification card with shaking hands. The driver examined it closely this time. It was authentic. It listed his rank, his service record, his Purple Heart, his Bronze Star, his Silver Star. The teenager who had been recording stepped forward. Sir, I'm sorry. I deleted the video. I'm really sorry. One by one, other passengers began apologizing. The businessman offered to pay Frank's fare for a month. The woman insisted on giving him her business card in case he ever needed anything. Frank only had eyes for Chun. The young ranger he remembered had become a man. Married now based on the wedding ring, probably with kids of his own. How did you recognize me? Frank asked. Chun smiled. You still do that thing with your hands when you're stressed. Same as in the compound. Plus, I never forgot your face, sir. You pulled me out of that hellhole. The 2 men embraced while the entire bus watched in respectful silence. Sir, Chun said quietly, I work for the VA now, helping veterans navigate the system. If you're going to the hospital, I'll make sure you get the care you deserve. Frank nodded. Unable to speak. The driver cleared his throat. Colonel Morrison, sir, you ride free on my bus from now on. And I owe you an apology that's about 15 years overdue. As the bus resumed its route, Frank found himself surrounded by passengers who wanted to thank him, to shake his hand, to hear his story. The teenager asked if he could interview Frank for a school project about heroes, but the moment that mattered most came when Chun sat beside him and whispered, Phantom, we've been looking for you for years. Half the guys from the unit want to buy you dinner. "We never got to thank you properly." Frank's voice cracked when he replied, "You just did, son. You just did." The bus pulled into the VA hospital stop. As Frank stood to leave, something unexpected happened. Chun snapped to attention and delivered a crisp military salute. One by one, other veterans on the bus stood and saluted too. The businessman, who turned out to be a Navy veteran himself. An elderly woman who had served as a nurse in Vietnam. Even a young woman heading to her National Guard unit. Frank Morrison, call sign Phantom, saluted back with tears streaming down his face. As he walked toward the hospital, he heard Chun call out behind him, "See you next Tuesday, sir. I'll save you a seat." For the first time in years, Frank Morrison felt like he was home.